Welcome to Cozy Noah Vibes, where we listen, we relax, and we get sleepy. I'm your host, Noah. Thanks so much for being here. Tonight, Abby returns for another installment of our series exploring the famous lighthouses of Maine in the northeastern United States. If you missed the first story about the Portland headlight, don't worry, you can always go back and listen to it another time. But for tonight, you'll have no trouble following along as our protagonist Emma makes her way to the Rockland Breakwater light. Now, we're about to begin tonight's story, so make sure you're nice and settled, adjusting into a more comfortable position if needed, and allow your eyes to gently fall closed as you let your breath slow down and draw out. Sense your body relaxing into the bed and your mind easing into the peace and calm of night. In sync with your inhales and exhales, you can repeat the following words in your mind. I am calm and safe. I am calm and safe. And now say to yourself, I am ready to rest. I am ready to rest. Simply by being here, allowing your muscles to relax and your head to ease into the soft pillow, you are already resting. It's okay if you're awake for now and for a while to come. Just enjoy the chance to rest and allow everything else to happen naturally, without force. Meanwhile, allow your mind to wander to a cozy harbor. Water laps against boats and docks which line the rocky shore. This is the beautiful coast of Maine, and it's where our story begins. Emma closed her eyes and savored a long sip of her sweet, milky morning tea. She was sitting at the counter of a quietly bustling restaurant, enjoying breakfast with a generous side helping of people watching. She rested comfortably on the padded high back seat and watched the servers move smoothly around the dining room. They were deftly pouring coffee and delivering enormous buttermilk pancakes, eggs over easy, and breakfast sandwiches. She had opted for a specialty of the house. Sitting in front of her were a couple of thick slabs of French toast that had been made from an enormous cinnamon bun. After all, a special day like this called for a treat. Emma was making her way along the coast of Maine, collecting research for her book about lighthouses. She had recently visited the storied Portland headlight in Cape Elizabeth. Now she had proceeded in a delightfully unscientific fashion to the working harbor town of Rockland, some 90 minutes northward along the coast. It just so happened that a family friend lived there in a charming little home right near the ferry terminal. This friend had graciously invited Emma to stay in her guest room, and Emma had gratefully accepted. Not only had her friend's home proven to be charming and ideally located, but her host was a generous source of local information. To begin with, thanks to her friend's recommendation, she was now eating the best breakfast in town. She closed her eyes and enjoyed the delicious smell of baked goods and coffee that permeated the entire place. Emma turned and gazed down the counter, past the glass cake stands full of frosted cupcakes and elegantly latticed blueberry pie. Over the heads of the other diners, she could see a light mist floating by the front window, partially obscuring the colorful buildings across the street. A seagull soared past the window, adding to the coastal morning atmosphere. She keenly felt her nearness to the harbor, and her friend had assured her she'd see it better very soon. The morning fog was due to burn off any time now. Her breakfast spot was right on the way to her destination of the day, which was the Rockland Breakwater light. Strictly speaking, there were other lighthouses in Maine with greater claims to fame. This Rockland beacon was not the oldest, the tallest, or even the most photographed lighthouses in the state. In fact, it was the walk to the lighthouses that was something extremely special. The path she would take in order to reach the beacon today was 7/8 of a mile long and constructed using almost 770 jarrow tons of granite, reaching straight out into the Penobscot Bay. The Breakwater was known to offer magnificent views of Rockland and the harbor in fine weather, and luckily, despite this bit of morning fog, fine weather was in the forecast that day. Indeed, as Emma paid her check at the restaurant and walked out the front door, the sun made its appearance on cue, as if heralding her upcoming adventure. The fog dissipated, and she could spy the twinkling blue waters of the harbor in the gap between the buildings across the street. She lifted her face to the sun as she walked to her nearby car. As she unlocked the door, she saw that a few customers were being seated at umbrella-covered tables upstairs on the open deck of the restaurant. They were in for a gorgeous outdoor meal. She thought to herself, what luck for them. She was no less fortunate, however, because she was going to have splendid weather for her walk. Pulling out of the parking lot, she turned onto Main Street and headed north. She knew it was a mere 5-minute drive to her destination. Sure enough, she soon came to Herdernoff, which took her down a residential street that bordered the harbor. Each house along the way had a large sloping lawn that overlooked the water. Another right turn revealed that her route continued to stick closely to the shore. She drove very slowly past more beautifully situated houses with incredible views. As the land wrapped around the working harbor, the view was as much of the ferry terminal in the heart of Rockland as it was of the open water. This was not merely a scenic port. It was humming with morning activity. In minutes, the end of the road made it clear that she had reached her destination. With a lovely Samosa resort and its rolling green lawns to her left and the last few water view homes to her right, she found a row of parking spaces at a dead end. there were only a couple of cars parked there. She would mostly have the breakwater to herself. She pulled on a light sweater and strolled towards the small park that marked the beginning of the trail to the breakwater. Pausing, Emma savored her first impressive view of the long granite stretch, which marched steadfastly out through the rippling blue waters of the bay. She knew it was nearly a mile long. It was hard to wrap her mind around that fact, with the entire length of it fully hid her view. However, its true size was apparent when she spotted people moving along it and saw how small the other visitors appeared. In half an hour or so, she would be standing in their place, surrounded by the sound of the gulls and the softly rolling waves of the harbor. She was ready to get started. A well-worn dirt path wound around the hillside at the foot of the resort, making its way to the first granite stones. This trail was charming in itself. It was not quite wide enough for two people. She scuffed along the sandy path, feeling that childish sense of anticipation that comes with walking along a winding trail. To her left, rugosa rose bushes clustered thickly, giving way to piles of stone above. To her right, a short clamber through the grass and down a slope led to a small beach that was littered with rocks. She could tell by the seaweed lying nearby that this area was generally covered by water at high tide. At the moment, though, it was the perfect place to entertain children. She could see a man and toddler some way down the beach examining a shell together. The child stuffed some small treasure in his pocket, and they walked on. Emma followed the enchanting byway around the hillside, and then, without ceremony, it ended at the foot of the granite breakwater. The walkway was impressive, with its majestic granite expanse stretching before her toward the horizon. She enjoyed a moment of delicious anticipation of the walk that was to come. The conditions seemed perfect. The temperature was warm, but the breezes were cool and invigorating here at the water's edge. Stepping onto the first rock, she looked down. The path was rugged, and the massive size of the stones made it hard to imagine how it had been built by mere humans. Approved by the government for construction in 1890, it had taken 9 years to complete. She could well believe that it had been finished late in 1899, just in time for the turn of the century. A person might think that the breakwater had been built in order to connect the lighthouses to the land, but that was not true. In fact, it was the breakwater that had been commissioned first. The lighthouses was built later. Apparently, despite its modest appearance, Rockland had once been one of the busiest ports on the east coast of the United States. True to its name, the area had been a major source of limestone and granite. The stone had been quarried nearby and turned into lime locally. The lime and granite were shipped out to build the most important structures and cities all over the country. In fact, by 1850, Rockland reportedly had 136 working lime kilns. She had read on the city website that in 1910, the then American President William Howard Taft visited into the deepest lime quarry in the world, and as impressive as that was, quarrying was not the only important trade. Rockland was also a hub in the fishing industry. It was an important harbor indeed. Unfortunately, its harbor was not as well protected from the weather as it should have been. During the 1850s, powerful storms known as nor'easters significantly damaged the waterfront, including both buildings and ships. As a result, citizens, local officers, and shipping companies all clamored for a better protected harbor, and thus, the Breakwater was commissioned. It was considered a great triumph when it was finally completed, and soon after, the lighthouses had been constructed at the very end, serving as a safe haven for travelers entering and leaving the port. Emma found the beginning of her journey over the massive granite stones to be quite smooth. The rocks were so large and solidly placed that she barely had to adjust her gait to account for them. She continued at a leisurely pace, pausing frequently to look down at the little pockets of water nestled in between the stones. Sometimes, she spotted small creatures scurrying about in those tiny tidal pools. Occasionally, she took a step that made her glance up to check her footing. The breakwater was wide enough for two people to walk comfortably side by side, and she didn't feel as though she had to concentrate on the ground below her feet. She enjoyed letting her eyes drift to the sea and back. The sun was higher in the sky, and the bay was looking bright and vibrant. She watched as a sailboat glided slowly in the distance. As she walked, she noticed the feeling of being enveloped by the sound of the sea. It was as if the waves were speaking to her, a soothing background murmur that complemented her footsteps. The gulls added their cries, completing the soundtrack of her seaside adventure. After some time, she realized that she was nearing the end of the breakwater. The lighthouses, which had appeared as a tiny speck from the shore, now stood clear and welcoming before her. The granite path led directly to it, with the final stones providing a seamless transition to the small lighthouse's structure. As she approached, she marveled at its compact, charming architecture. The Rockland Breakwater Light was a small, white building with a red roof, perched on the edge of the breakwater as if it had grown from the stone itself. It had a sturdy, timeless quality, standing firm against the elements and guiding sailors safely to shore for over a century. Emma stepped onto the final stone and walked up to the lighthouses, feeling a sense of accomplishment and wonder. She had reached her destination, and it was every bit as magical as she had imagined. The lighthouse's keepers' quarters were connected to the tower, creating a picturesque scene that seemed straight out of a storybook. The light atop the tower, which had once been a vital beacon for mariners, now served as a symbol of history and resilience. She spent some time exploring the lighthouses and the surrounding area, taking in the breathtaking views of the bay and the distant shore. The sun was shining brightly, casting a warm glow over the water and illuminating the rugged beauty of the main coast. She felt a deep sense of peace and contentment, knowing that she was part of the long tradition of visitors who had made the journey to this special place. As she prepared to make her way back along the Breakwater, she took one last look at the lighthouses, feeling grateful for the experience. The walk had been a journey through history and nature, a chance to connect with the past and appreciate the enduring beauty of the present. She knew that this adventure would be a cherished memory, one that she would carry with her as she continued her exploration of Maine's lighthouses. With a final, contented sigh, Emma began her walk back along the granite path, the sea breeze ruffling her hair and the sound of the waves accompanying her every step. She felt a sense of fulfillment and joy, knowing that she had experienced something truly special. The Rockland Breakwater Light had not only been a destination but a journey, a testament to the power of nature, human ingenuity, and the enduring spirit of adventure. As you lie here, cozy and relaxed, let Emma's journey inspire a sense of peace and wonder within you. Imagine the gentle sound of the waves, the cool sea breeze, and the warm sun on your face. Let these soothing images fill your mind as you drift off to sleep, knowing that you, too, are on a journey of rest and rejuvenation. Good night.